So I hired Beth McDaniels of Renton, Washington. I hired her on contingency, and immediately she said that my brother needed an estate guardian ad litem to protect his interests and that he needed a guardian. She said that Johnson and the Guyage law firm did not do their job as to appointing all these attorneys at the beginning of probate to protect my brother. She said she was required by law and that he must have an estate attorney, guardian ad litem, but that they would be paid by the county. So she forced Johnson and Guyage to appoint an estate guardian ad litem for my brother out of Pierce County, when in fact he was resident of King County. And then another guardian ad litem was appointed to investigate my brother to have a guardian. This guardian ad litem was appointed out of Pierce County also. These two people's names are Linda P. Burbank and Candace Igar, attorneys and guardian ad litems in Tacoma, Washington. I was hesitant on these appointments due to how much everyone would be charged in the estate. I was told by Beth that my mother's law firm did a tacky job on drawing up my mother's will. They did not advise her correctly, especially regarding her rights to her son. According to Washington state laws, my mother had no rights to her son. So I thought I was doing right and applied to become his guardian. Jeanette has stated she wanted nothing to do with his care. Beth allowed Linda P. Burbank and Candace Igar to run up huge bills and never held them accountable for being out of compliance, with never given timely reports. I asked several times what their time allotment was, and each time was given a different answer. More confusion encompassed, and Beth McDaniels constantly sided with the guardian ad litems. She appeared to be advocating more for them than me and my brother's interest. I hired Beth in January of 2011, and I was fighting to keep my mother's home because Jeanette wanted to sell my mother's home as is. Beth told me in front of Minister Kitchen and my brother, me and my brother could keep our home because we could rent it out and draw income off the rental. This is not a seller's market. My mother's home has depreciated from $295,000 to maybe $150,000 to $160,000. We would be taking a huge loss. At this point, my brother and I were in full agreement of what to do with everything. He was competent. He hadn't been declared incompetent yet. As the case went on, it became more and more confusing. It appeared that everyone was doing what they wanted with no regards to me and my brother. There are over 108 motions, declarations, and so on filed with the courts. I constantly asked my attorney for me to see any and all correspondences. I asked for an updated bill. She sent me a bill in the 6 months. She sent me one bill in the 6 months she had my case. She double billed, charging my brother fees for a meeting he was not at. She said she would never charge me interest. She padded the bills for work that I did. Probate and guardianship is supposed to be her field of expertise. Beth seemed to bumble her way through many situations. She was not consistently honest with me and always gave me mixed messages. I always had someone with me at all my meetings with everyone. It became apparent that the objective from all attorneys involved was to drain the estate. Jeanette was quitting for 3 months straight, and Nadalia, who helped break into my mother's home, was going to become executor. Johnson and Nagayach quit the case and gave it to another attorney named Darrell Tuttle in Pierce County in Tacoma, Washington. Beth said they quit because they drained as much as they could out of the estate. Linda and Candace eventually made up false allegations on me. I asked my attorney to petition the courts to have them removed. Many times, Beth ended up quitting. I asked him to be removed many times. Beth ended up quitting and breaching attorney-client confidentiality and told Candace the reason why she quit. Candace, knowing I wanted her off the case due to her lengthy, sketchy investigation, she talked with no one who knew my mother's wishes. So now we have 6 attorneys and a few paralegals charging an estate worth only $300,000. Before Beth quit, I got her to get me appointed as executor, which then became a fiasco. She did not advise me that I would have to post a $10,000 bond, which I understand this is common if I am not named in the will. She lied to Commissioner Johnson and said I could post bond when she knew I only received minimal SSA, Social Security. This blindsided me, and Beth said I had to come up with the whole $10,000, which I found out was not true. I just could have come up with 10% of the bond. This was later used against me by Linda and Candace to say I was not bondable. I was constantly threatened with dismissal if I did not approve of Linda to get more hours. Beth allowed this. Beth was the biggest disappointment as I considered her not only my attorney but my friend. Beth has a $10,000 lien against our property now with interest collecting every month 1%. She lied and said on the documentation that I hired her to become executor. And this is not true. I hired her to protect me and my brother's interests. She sent Gerald Robinson, my future attorney, the last copy of the final bill, which I never saw. So now we're at the point that I was but I thought that she cared. But as she is a guardian ad litem, it became apparent who she was being allegiant to. My brother was the ultimate prey, as everyone wanted to drain his 2/3. Now the story is that I have to sell the house because Linda Burbank says so. After Beth quit, I hired Gerald Robinson of Burien, Washington. He does even worse. He steals monies from the IOTA account and not pay bills I was taking to him. Beth refused to pay the whole amount of the house taxes, as he did refuse also. Everything was a fight and a tug of war. It was decided my brother should have a professional guardian. This was the plan all along. So they moved me out of the way, and the next darkest day was July 25th, 2011, when my attorney Gerald Robinson, along with Candace Igar and Linda P. Burbank, perjured themselves on declarations that were made up with lies about me. Commissioner Mary Dickey allowed false testimony by Candace Igar, and my brother was not advised he could also come to court. They stripped him of all his God-given rights, and the guardian firm of Scott Malvati and Associates of Redmond, Washington, acquired my brother. He is now considered a de facto dead person. Now he'll never see a dime of his inheritance. Now there comes another attorney, David Alfriend, Redmond, Washington. My brother's new attorney. Gerald Robinson withheld Candace Igar final recommendations from me until Friday, July 22nd, 2011, at approximately 2:30 p.m. I was not allowed to speak more than 5 seconds in court. My brother asked me to fight for him. All the attorneys, including mine, stood in court and laughed at me. I told the commissioner I would be appealing, and she stated I had the right. She stated that I had the right, but she said she and my attorney, Gerald Robinson, who is re-elected to Burien City Council, did not advise me that I had only 30 days to appeal. I fired Gerald on September 15, 2011, due to him not doing his due diligence on representing me adequately and from stealing monies that I did not authorize him to allocate to himself. He also perjured himself in documents stating that he did not take more monies after I fired him, and it is written documented that he wrote checks the very next day. After I instructed him not to touch any more of the monies in the IOTA account, which was set up to take care of the estate, and because I was told I couldn't be bonded, it was implied I was not trustworthy. Every attorney has used this against me. Now I am being forced to sell my mother's home, and I'm constantly under threat of being removed if I don't do what my brother's attorney says. Now Gerald says that I have a malpractice suit against Beth McDaniels because she did not lay claim in a timely manner to some non-probate monies my mother invested. He could have done the same thing, and this cuts me out of $30,000. All of these attorneys have caused me such turmoil and emotional pain that I could have never imagined. I have worked so hard to honor my mother's wishes and to take care of my brother. These attorneys made a mockery of their oath and did so many unethical practices. They were and are very comfortable in lying and doing whatever they want because I or others don't have the full knowledge of the probate laws. Even Western State Hospital sided with the attorneys. I was accused of being an opportunist by some of the staff members when I would go visit my brother and take him snacks, give him money, and buy him clothes. The attorneys used what the staff members interpreted and their assumptions of how me and my brother interacted instead of talking with people who knew my mother and brother personally. Now I am afraid to contact my brother because it is a common practice to have a no contact order taken out on you if the professional guardian feels threatened. I have no more attorneys. I am acting pro se. No one will turn over all the correspondences to me, which I have a right to see anything pertaining to this case. I have worked over 300 hours as executor and 75 hours on Jeanette's instructions. I have been so misguided and let down, and I have spent all my money and maxed out all my credit cards to keep all the utilities on because there's no more money in the account. I belong to a group called NAGSA, National Association Against Guardian Abuse. Elaine Renoir heads this nonprofit. Marty Oakley and Sarah Harvey featured me on a radio internet blog show. Pastor Butch allowed me to speak on his show. All of these people have been a tremendous support for me and a wealth of information. They tirelessly work to expose corruption in all courts, but especially in probate courts. I thank my sister, my best friend, and my mentor for being there when I was so weak from all the attacks and lies. I thank all the NAGSA members for being such a strong support and a wealth of information. I thank Keith Williams, who owns Flywright Productions and who has been so patient with me. He is filming me and is the best photographer in the world. I thank a whole host of friends and my church family for being there for me to help lift me up. Mostly, I thank God, who is my shepherd. He did not give me the spirit of fear, but of love, power, and a sound mind. I will forever worship you. May God bless. There is light at the end of the tunnel. All of you who are under attack from these attorneys, they will eventually be held accountable. Stay strong and believe. There is strength in numbers. Speak out and up. Keep the faith. God will not fail us.